All right, we play. John Huizinga says, man plays. He did that great book on Homo Ludens. Man is a player. Man is a player. Again, like the last series, I chose this topic because I like thinking about it. I'm in it. I live it. And I'd like to share as much as I've seen with you. There are two ways of taking on this issue. One is academically, taking modernism in its various forms. And I'm only going to touch upon that because what I want to do is deal with it in terms of what I see, not the way it's developed academically. So, first thought, please notice, it's a cultural war not against our religious roots, but our spiritual roots. The difference between the two, of course, is that a religion is a body of beliefs that bring together people. It binds them together, and they express that belief in a variety of ways. Some of the ways in which they may express it might be spiritual, but not necessarily. If spiritual means using the full force of your being to try to gain a better understanding and experience of the divine. Therefore, here is something interesting. Modernism, by definition, is turning your back on the ancients. That's what modern formally means. A modern makes a pledge. I shall not go into the past beyond Bacon, and only occasionally with Bacon. Most often with Descartes, and not too much that. They really move much more into Newton. That's their basic God. So let us play. Now look here. The usual way of exploring this issue in modern philosophy is to take the four expressions as it exists today: critical philosophy, historicism, phenomenology, linguistic philosophy. They're just various forms of reductionism and relativism. Now, reductionism means just that. If you take something noble and you can reduce it to other terms, terms other than itself, and express it in terms and ideas less than itself, you are dealing with reductionism. Simplest way to deal with it, of course, is to say, if you're interested in studying man, you can say, for every distinctive experience man has, there's a biochemical correlate. There's something squirting somewhere in the body and in the brain. And therefore, you can correlate the different experiences man has with a different particular biochemical correlation with it. So therefore, if you don't like climbing Mount Everest, you can find what type of experience it might be to climb Mount Everest and find a biochemical correlate to that experience. Therefore, you can turn around and say, climbing Mount Everest is nothing other than putting the body or the psyche in such a way that you're going to squirt such chemicals. It's reducing it to a biochemical correlate. Relativism is modern expression of an ancient philosophy that's very current, which is Protagoras. Everything is relative to the observer. Knowledge is perception. Whatever seems true to you is true to you. For whom it seems so, whatever seems true to you is true to you. Whatever seems to me is true to me. And who's to say who's right or wrong, since each man's view is particular to their own particular viewpoint, therefore who can judge who's right or wrong? And words like this are quite popular. Now, all of these in some way deal with science. Behind it all is this word science. All of these forms owe allegiance to science. Usually science as expressed in physics. They all believe that science will be able to reveal the nature of our reality. They believe that science is going to touch and discover the very order of reality, express that order in laws of nature, and then we, of course, utilize it in a variety of ways. That's the role of reason. Oh, wow. So that is the role of reason. All of this and everything we say is going to come down to this one expression, role of reason. What is the role of reason? Look, see. Here's a piece of chalk. If you discover something, you find interesting, a possible idea, you generate a hypothesis about it. Maybe I can understand the way, let's see, the way something moves, and maybe I can generate a hypothesis about it. And so you generate a hypothesis about it, and then you set up some kind of experiment. All right. You want to control that. You want to control everything so that only the variables you want to study will become visible. You want to reduce it to some measurable expression. Then you come to a conclusion. Now, what's most interesting about this is the steps through this should be an unbroken line that expresses itself ideally in a logical sequence. That's the role of reason. That is not the role of reason in Hellenism. Now, what do I mean by Hellenism? I mean that system of thought that started over here with Homer, expressed itself through the Greek philosophers, because that's what we mean by Hellenic, Greek, right? Especially Platonic, the Platonic tradition. And we include within that what is sometimes called the Neoplatonic tradition. This, taken as a whole, is what is called the Hellene, or the Hellenic vision. What are its parts? It's not those. It's not those. Rather, working backwards, it's being able to master contemplation, the dialectic, dialogue, the use of mythology and complex allegories and analogies, cosmology, and especially this most curious and important word, understanding. Look here. Understanding in the Platonic world is totally different than this. Totally different from this. And part of our goal tonight is to see whether we can pin that down, that difference, because in that difference everything follows. This is sometimes expressed in terms of the issue between reason and faith. Now, Plato, in the Republic, builds a whole system where he's dealing with 4 different cognitive functions: image thinking, belief, and the images are the basis of the beliefs are the basis of the images. Then there is this curious word, understanding, and from that, knowing. All of the arts of Plato, all of the arts that are used to train the philosopher,